Okay. So hi, my name is Kiran, and I'm here to speak about learn and growth with GCP and how I secured Google Cloud GCP Associate Cloud Engineer and Professional Data Engineer certificates in span of 4 months. Um, Before getting started, I would like to give a brief introduction about myself. I did my master's in data sciences from University of St. Thomas, and then joined PS Data as a data engineer, and then moved to Thrivent in May 2018. So some of you might have noticed the introduction put together in the meetup invite, saying that I am working on Stork and some of the on-prem technologies. I did till last year October, and then as part of the Thrivent's digital transformation, we are moving to cloud. And currently, um, I'm on the team that is doing the cloud platform transformation. Before going to the next slide, I would like to thank Jeff for providing me this platform and opportunity to share my cloud journey. Um, I don't know if he already knew or not, but he is indirectly um, he's the person in charge basically to make me choose the path towards cloud. Uh, so actually, even though my journey started during my masters itself, but back during my masters, we were given AWS credits to do some of the courses and the projects. But most of those courses actually asked us to use the EC2 instances to get the bigger machines so that we can perform the projects even more faster. And it is especially for the data mining and the machine learning courses where we have to use the larger instances to spin up the SAP HANA or to use RH2O to build the machine learning models. So most of the time I worked on only the IaaS portion of the cloud and didn't really touch the other cloud products. So I didn't understand the vastness or how big the cloud is and how many other technologies we have with cloud. So I didn't explore much, and even the employees or the clients I worked for in 2017, 18, all the way till 19, I worked on only the on-prem technologies because they have the big data centers, and I didn't explore more on the cloud. Then I accidentally stumbled upon the GDG Cloud Twin Cities event on October 12th. So that is a meet up about the machine learning, and where I got some credits to Quick Labs, and then I got introduced to the Cloud Vision API, Natural Language API, and the Translation API, where we um, sent a base64 encoded image to an API endpoint. It immediately said what is the text present, and then that text we copied and sent to the natural language API, and it told us the language in which the text is. And sorry, we sent to the translation API, and it sent the language, and then we changed the text from some other language to English, and then we passed it on to natural language API, and it provided the sentiment of the text. And then I attended AWS MN during the same year, and I got introduced to the serverless functions. And then I started learning by the cloud technologies about by myself, and also spoke to my manager regarding and understood that Thrive and want to perform this cloud migration. And for the rest of the 2020, I spent mostly on learning AWS. I am a paid member of Linux Academy, and one fine day I received an email to Ryan Kroonberg's blog post, which spoke about the different certifications, and who is which certification gets paid more. The top paying cloud certifications and jobs found, and I found that GCP Cloud Architect gets paid more. All of a shocker to me back in the days, because I heard that about 60 to 70% of the companies use AWS as their primary cloud provider, and then why are the GCP architects getting paid more? So I started investigating about GCP, and the first thing I did is I signed up for their free tier account, and then my immediate impressions when compared to AWS are it is very user friendly, and um, I got 300 credits, and still it is cheaper to AWS compared to some with respect to some of the products that are offered by GCP. And then the biggest advantage I had is there are no limitations with respect to what kind of EC2 instance I can spin up. So when I got AWS credits, I can't spin up above a certain instance with certain number of vCPUs and RAM. But coming to the GCP, the only limitation I had is with per region vCPUs and the RAM limits, and still they are way more higher. And the other thing I found is it is very easy to experiment, so I don't have to worry about what kind of resources I spun up in different regions. So I can create a new project and I can do all the experimentation, and I can immediately shut down the entire project. It is not going to stop me from deleting a project unless I have a GCS bucket with the retention policy set upon it or enabled on it. And the other thing I found out is the startup times. Data proc cluster, even after choosing all the services offered, it spins up in like 90 seconds to about hardly 2 minutes. But coming to EMR, we have to wait for at least 5 minutes, and then the instance starts up, and then the Spark shell is going to take another a minute or so to get enabled. And the network speeds are faster. So on EC2, the anything without uh, the fast network enabled, the speed limits are way too low. For some of the softwares to download, it took about 2 minutes on EC2, and the speed limits get stopped around 10 Mbps. But on GCP, there are no network limits. So I got 60 Mbps on even a basic instance like N1 standard one. So after doing all this research in 2021 January, I booked for my associate cloud engineer, and I started with the official associate cloud engineer guide by Dan Sullivan. I felt this book covered all the necessary portion to pass the exam, but still there are certain topics. I think maybe it is because the book was written in 2019 and there are some changes that happened since then with respect to the GCP product offerings, and also a little bit on the syllabus as well. So the next book I chose is McGraw-Hill. This is the latest book by Jack Hyman, and it covered all the syllabus necessary. I personally suggest to go with the official associate cloud engineer guide as the beginning, because McGraw-Hill, they covered the syllabus, but still it is not a beginner friendly. The book is not so beginner friendly, and I suggest to if you don't have much time, then and still if you have access to McGraw-Hill book, then I would suggest you guys to do the practice exams after each and every chapter, and also there is a final exam offered along with the book. So they are pretty good, and there are certain questions that are repeated in the exam as well from the book. If you are not so much into the books, then the Udemy course by Dan Sullivan, so it is exactly same what is taught in the book, but the only limitation with the Udemy course is that you won't get after chapter questions for practicing. And um, quick labs is something that I would stress a lot about, especially for the associate cloud engineer. It helped me a lot for preparing. So all the G Cloud commands that I forgot the speaker's name, who explained a little bit before. Um, so practicing for the G Cloud commands, GSUTL commands, and the kubectl commands, quick labs helped a lot. And there aren't many questions that are asked in the exam, but still there are about 3 or 4 questions out of 50 that were asked based on, like, if you are given so and so tasks, so what is the command that you are going to use to resolve, or if you are running so and so command, what would you expect the output would be, something like that. And I separated these two courses out because a Cloud Guru course is okay, but still I personally didn't like much of the Matthias Anderson's ways of teaching. His associate cloud engineer exam and the professional cloud architect exam has the same video courses, and he doesn't explain on how to prepare for the exam. He only teaches um, about the products or the GCP offerings. But still the labs are good, and his exam is pretty good, and it is one of the toughest exams that I have experienced out of all the associate cloud engineer exams I took as part of the practice. I would suggest you to repeat the exam until you get 100%. There are about 120 questions or so in the in the A Cloud Guru offering. And since A Cloud Guru acquired Linux Academy, the course is not updated. So the Linux Academy course is it is not at all up to date. But if you want, you can use their exams for practice. But still, some of the questions are outdated. I mean, what is the maximum VM size? So that is already outdated from 2019. And moving on to the professional data engineer, for the professional data engineer, I felt the Coursera course is the most up-to-date course offering that is available, and that is the only course which actually mentioned about some of the questions that I have seen in the exam as well, like what are the functions that you are going to use to solve a particular problem using BigQuery. So a row number or a lag functions, these are not taught in any other courses that I have mentioned below. And also the cloud data fusion is not spoken in any of the other courses. Even though the website says it is in beta, I have still seen a question in my exam, and that is taught in only the Coursera course. And the next course that I would the next material that I am going to suggest is the official professional data engineer. Sorry for this, by Dan Sullivan. So there are certain chapters where Dan Sullivan explained how to prepare for the exam, especially related to the security and compliance. There are so many compliance requirements that we have to meet as part of our day-to-day job, but still there are certain things that are not so important for the exam. And there are 4 different compliance requirements that Dan Sullivan taught in his book, and I haven't seen beyond those 4 compliance even in my exam. So he taught about GDPR, COPA, FedRAMP, and I forgot the other one. I will text you guys after this. So those are the 4 compliance requirements that we have to meet, and that was taught in the book. Apart from that, I would suggest Linux Academy's course. If you don't have access to the about two, Linux Academy course is good, but still this is also has the same problem as the other course. It is not up to date. There are certain things that are there are certain products that are actually missing, like cloud data catalog, cloud fusion. And the next course that I would suggest is a cloud guru, but still this course is a little bit lengthy. Tim tries to provide so much information in a short video, so after a while it feels like you are getting a lot of information, so you just can't keep up with the course. So if you have access to any of the above courses, I would suggest to use a cloud guru, especially for the ML products. He taught the cloud vision API, cloud video API. So all those products are taught very wonderfully in the a cloud guru course than any other course that I have seen. And even in on the exam they asked a little bit in depth, like whatever that we heard as part of the dialogue flow. So those are actually asked in the exam as well. So how are you going to use an entity, and what if the sentiment value is so and so? Is it actually that is related to the natural language API? So if the sentiment magnitude is higher, what does it imply, etc. And then if you have, or if you're planning to prepare for at least 2 months and then take the exam, I would really emphasize on finishing these particular topics: cloud GCP documentation pages, because these products have, since they are offered directly by the GCP, and some of the products like Cloud Spanner or PQ, so we don't have any alternative products that we are using on our day-to-day basis. Like there are no open source products, so their material explains why certain things has to be done in a certain way. I mean, even in the courses they say, okay, so this is the reason and that is the reason why you have to go with it, but they won't explain like why that is the actual reason where we have to why we have to choose so and so products. Especially like for the key visualizer tool related to CBT, they say if it is darker, that implies it is good. If it is lighter, then it is bad. But why darker is bad, why darker is good, is something that is explained in detail in their documentation. And for the professional data engineer course, I would suggest to use the labs that are offered as part of the GCP documentation than quick labs, because I don't know, it could be that I took the is first and then after a month I gave professional data engineer, so I felt there is nothing much more to learn from the quick labs for the professional data engineer. um, but I felt the labs that are offered within the GCP documentation, basically in their how to do guides, helped me a lot for preparing for professional data engineer. And then the ML intro course that is offered by GCP, the Google, it is pretty good, but it is way too much detail for the professional data engineer. If you have time, I would suggest to go look into it, but I haven't seen any question that went in that much depth related to ML on a professional data engineer. And the last course I suggest is Udemy practice exams by Zara. So this is the only exam where I felt it has actually reached the professional data engineer exam level. All the other practice exams, they are good, but still they haven't met the level where the actual professional data engineer exam was. They are way too easy. And even in the Udemy exam, the first practice exam is pretty good, and I scored only 60 a week before my exam. And how did I prepare? I chose the digital version as much as possible, because after finishing 8 hours of work and then preparing for the exam, I was not able to focus beyond an hour. So I chose digital versions. And then there is, if you're using Windows, you can use Microsoft's Edge, and then you can select the material, and you can use the Control Shift U. Or else, even on MacBook, there is, if you go to accessibility and then spoken content, you can actually choose whatever keyboard shortcut, and you can select the material and you can play. If you're planning on using more than one resource, I took about 3 months to prepare for associate cloud engineer. um, Reason because I read the same material over and over, and I completely waited for practicing till the last month. So I wasted most of my time preparing on the same topics over and over. So I would suggest to take the practice exam after finishing the first resource, and then find where you are lagging, or find where you are not able to score well, and use the second material to practice just those, or read just those. And then the other solution is taking notes. Try to take as much notes as possible, because it really helps just a week before exam, so that you don't have to go through the entire material to find the important points, or the points that you or the questions where you made mistakes, etc. And don't take GCP exam practice exam way before, because if you scored well, then you can actually move the exam. But if you didn't score well, there is there could be chances that you actually remember the questions, and the second time you take, you may score 100 out of 100, but the final exam is not going to be that easy. And since during my work time I am using AWS, I took off before exam, so that I don't get confused with all the limitations. And there are certain limitations that are actually stressed on the exam. For example, PubSub versus Kafka. There I received a question where the answer was Kafka. So you have to remember where PubSub doesn't offer, where Kafka offers more than what PubSub can offer. And so this is the total I spent per exam. I will share the slides so you guys can go over. And then especially during the exam, these are the tips that I would like to share. The first one is, if a particular question is taking more than a minute, just hit it for mark it for review, because there are certain questions where you can really skim through the question and skim through the answers, and can answer in like 40 to 60 seconds. And there are certain questions you can answer in less than 30 seconds. And you can come back and finish all the questions that you marked for review. And I have seen even in the associate cloud engineer exam, there are certain questions which are asked beyond what is actually taught in all the materials that I mentioned, related to the authentication, authorization, etc. And I, being a non-native speaker, I have faced this problem of double negations, like which of the following is not a disadvantage, or which of the following is not a reason why you choose so and so product. And especially for the professional exam, there are certain questions where they asked, like, which of the following two options would you choose to solve a particular problem. And especially for me, they asked a question where they said, you got all your data in BigQuery and you built a model using BQML. So right now, how are you going to offer the predictions to the end users in less than 10 milliseconds? So out of all the options, there is an option where you have an app engine application which is going to read all the predictions out of the BQML and then write them to the big table, and have another app which is going to read out of big table and then serve the end users. Even though it is not economical, that is the only way we can actually reach the 10 millisecond limit. So you have to choose each and every option individually so that um, you can serve these so you can properly answer the questions. And this is also true related to the professional exam, so it is actually tougher than any of the available resources out there. Any questions?
So you said 4 months, so that was just January through April, and I remember seeing you
Yes.
pass one of the certs along the way, and I was like, "Good job, man!" And then you passed the other one. I was like, "Wow, you're on fire!" Like, what are you going to do next? Are you going to go for
uh,
and
I am planning to take professional cloud architect exam in June.
great?
Yep.
What are you studying for that? Is it the same, the Dan Sullivan?
um, there is a book offered by Dan Sullivan, and also there is one for McGraw-Hill, and I am also planning to do the same Coursera.
Yeah, that's good. I fixed that the link there, that second one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. So we'll share out the slide. There, you'll share out the slides afterwards. I'll get them to all the attendees, and I think we might have some other Q&As. I hope so. Anyone else curious about Kiran's?
Yeah, this is Joe. I had a question, Kiran, about before you did your master's in data science. What was your field of study for your undergrad, or how much background did you have in that area?
Well, actually, my undergraduation is in mining engineering,
Okay.
the actual extraction of ores, etc. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with the computer science. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I did my bachelor's back in India, and so we don't have an opportunity to switch our bachelor's degree, or to switch our major. So
Sure.
I started in mining engineering, so I have to finish it. But I asked my professors, and I did couple of courses in computer science, but still they are way too basic courses like DBMS and data analytics.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So did you feel your master's background in your work helped you for the data engineering certification? Or was it just enough difference of material that it did not?
Um, I would say my master's didn't help. Actually, it helped me to get the job. So I started, but my job actually helped because most of these product offerings, like even though I said BQ has no other alternative, but still BQ you can actually link it to Hive. So most of the SQL commands that you are writing are also offered in Hive.
Okay.
And the cloud big table, I am using HBase at my work, and for the data proc we are using the entire Cloudera cluster.
Gotcha.
So we have the Spark jobs, etc.
Okay. Very nice. And do you for your work, are you guys mainly on AWS, or are you using the Google platform?
We are mainly on AWS right now, but the future goal is to be on all the three major cloud providers. But
Okay.
as part of the first step, we are on AWS, and there are certain products which are on Azure as well.
Okay. That makes sense. It's like most of us. We're trying to break our companies into Google.
Yep. Mhm.